Digital Delhi Conclave was envisaged, as Asim said, as an open platform for discussion and to have all possible stakeholders on the same page. It could be the government, academia, researchers, practitioners, NGOs, policymakers, who have you. Everybody could be here, and the aim is to see how technology can help further the goals of SDGs. So Asim kind of made an introduction, and I was attending one of the sessions earlier today where they talked about AI, which always gets discussed in such a notion, and various interesting aspects of predictive, preventive aspects, and even ethical aspects of AI did come about.
So the first set of questions that we had identified was about, the very idea of artificial intelligence itself. So my question is, how transformative is this technology? How should we look at it?
For us, it's creating systems that are not as easily taken apart and explained as other technical solutions that we had before. This new challenge does not mean that it's like sometimes we hear these narratives of AIs taking over, and there's a huge imaginary going on with AI technologies. I think what is kind of a good idea in the risk-based assessment is that it is twofold. It's one, looking at the model itself, asking what kind of risk comes with the model, and it is also looking at the application area. So it's not projects that are going for profit maximization, but we're looking at projects who are, for instance, trying to preserve nature by mapping biodiversity. They're aiming to map the climate change or CO2 emissions worldwide.
At the end of the day, it is what AI does offer us is technological systems that can aid decision making. The nature of machine learning, which is essentially what AI as we understand right now is, that kind of turns the idea of how algorithmic systems work a little bit on its head. And so there is the degree of control that a programmer would have over that system, and the degree of understanding also that they would have about it. So as a consumer of technology, I don't need to understand everything about it, but I need to understand enough about it to make it work for myself. So the big question is also, how sustainable is it going to be to run these extremely expensive, extremely energy-intensive systems?
The thing that I would encourage my students to sort of do in order to understand the messiness of sort of social systems is to break away from looking at it as a product and looking at the production process, right? Just take our examples of why our Indian cities, sort of our traditional cities, are still the way they are. It's actually through a completely unintentional result of the Rent Control Act. You cannot, even if you broke down those buildings and built swanky campuses, you're not going to be able to charge extra rent. So that's why speculation hasn't taken place in our inner cities. There seems to be a loss of faith in democracy. So my point here is that I think that it's a larger malaise that seems to be affecting our general disillusionment for democracy per se. And I also fail to think, okay, you're going to have a deep fake. Do you really think the public is sort of going to get swayed by that? At least in India.
In 2017, which really changed the way foundation models were developed afterwards, which brought in the idea of attention and context and the ability of systems to be able to predict the next word a lot more accurately than it used to. The amount of power used to compute or run a ChatGPT is immense. Governance, streamlining frameworks, etc. So what you need is at the development level. If you say that, okay, all the copyrighted content should be licensed and I'll pay a fee and I can access it and I can train my future models, that has a cost to it. So you are creating an entry barrier for startups, for smaller tech firms which may want to be able to create state-of-the-art foundation models. In the era of generative AI, prompt-based AI apps, will the present safe harbor system work where it's supposed to be a mere conduit? So whose liability is it if something goes wrong? So I think we need to rethink some of these questions, but coming up with straight-jacketed, hard, top-down regulation may be counterproductive.